everyone, it's the Blank, and today we will be sewing a charming dress that fits perfectly, all thanks to the darts on the bodice, tie at the waist, and those eye-catching ruffles on the sleeves. My new pattern is called Sophia, and it's an effortless, easy sewing project. You know what the best part about this dress is? No zipper, no linings. If you have tackled a few sewing projects, you can easily make this dress. This is a step-by-step sewing tutorial, and I sprinkle in some pro sewing tips to make your journey extra delightful. So keep your eyes peeled on the screen as we dive in. Ready? Let's jump right in. Let's start by preparing the pattern. I share detailed instruction on how to prepare your pattern step by step in the video link below. Once you're certain that your contour secure measurements are accurate, you can follow the relevant numbers and the video to create your physical pattern from the PDF. Now, it's time to choose the perfect fabric for your new dress. For this dress, you will need some interfacing and approximately 3 meters of fabric. I sew my dress from a lining fabric, and for the best result, you can choose medium white fabrics. Don't forget to check out your sewing guide booklet for more fabric recommendation, pattern, and fabric layout details. Fabric cutting layout is included in your sewing guide booklet. Be sure while cutting each piece from the both interfacing and the main fabric on the wrong side, following the specific quantities and layout plan. If you would like a closer look at the pattern, I'm sharing the link in the description. The pattern offers a wide range of sizing and is quite suitable for those with basic sewing skills. Additionally, I have a special discount for my YouTube followers. You can use the code at the checkout to enjoy an instant 15% discount. Now, let's get started with the sewing. Before you start sewing with your fabric, be sure to wash and iron them. My fabric is linen, so it looks a little bit wrinkled, but of course I ironed it beforehand. For the front bodice, I began by sewing the darts on the wrong side of the fabric. While doing this, I ensure that the darts line match up from the front and back, then I sew and press along the entire line. Here's a professional tip. If you steam press after every sewing step, your garment will look much more professional. If you don't have a pressing board, you can use a book. Everything looks great. Now we can join the front and back bodies. Sew the shoulder and side seams, then secure the seams with an overlock and press. Repeat all the steps for both sides. Let's continue by sewing the facing on the upper bodice. To prepare the back and front facing for the stitching, place your interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric and secure it with a steam press. Align the back and front facing fabrics right side together and sew. Then, overlock the entire outer edge and press by opening the seam allowance to both sides. It's time to attach the front bodice and facing. Pin the fabrics right side together, align on the outer edge and sew along the entire neckline. To reduce bulk, trim the interface inner seam allowance to 5 mm. Create small knots at the back neck and curve corners to prevent bunching. Now, position the longer seam allowance over the shorter one to enclose it and sew the facing around the neckline with a 3 mm stitch length to secure it. Finish off a final press to set everything in place. Do you remember darts? Now I will give you another professional tip. If you tie and thread the long leftover threads through a needle and pass them through the dart tunnel, you can enjoy wearing your dress for many years without them coming undone. We are now at the final stage of the front bodice. Place the fabrics right side together and pin between the mark points at the center front. Pin carefully so that the seams overlap. Starting from the waistline, sew a straight stitch up to the mark point on the pattern. Make sure to reinforce the sewing beginning and ending points with a back and forth stitches. Now we are ready to sew the sleeves. Pin the fabric on the wrong side and sew. Then secure the seam with an overlock and press. For the lower sleeve, follow the same steps, sew from the wrong side, secure with the overlock and still press for the finished look. The lower sleeve cuff is curved and has a stretch potential, therefore sew around the entire perimeter with a 5 mm stitch length. This way, you will be able to gather and smoothly attach it to the upper sleeve. and sew around the entire perimeter, then secure the seam with an overlock and press. Sew the lower sleeve hem by folding it double. Here's a professional tip. First, choose a point and fold it double. Then choose another point further away and repeat the process. Find the midpoint between these 2 points and fold it in double again. Repeat the process until you achieve a desired look. For a comfortable stitch, I basted and then sew around with a 3mm stitch length. Final press and done. Everything looks great. Before attaching the sleeve to the bodice, sew the mark points on the sleeve opening with a 5mm stitch length. Pin the mark points to align with each other and gather as needed to match the width of the sleeve of armhole. For ease while sewing on the machine, best and then stitch around the entire armhole. Finally, overlock the edges. Repeat the same process for the other sleeve. Secure the facing to shoulders with hand stitching to prevent them from moving. Now the upper body is finished and everything looks fantastic. At this stage, you can even wear your piece as a crop top. It's time to join the upper bodies and skirt. To create the tie buttonholes on the front skirt, reinforce the mark area on the back with interfacing. Placing the front and back skirt pieces right side together, sew the side seams, then overlock and give it a final press. Before opening the buttonholes on the front skirt, make a test on a scrap piece of fabric. If you achieve the desired result with the test fabric, repeat the same steps on your main fabric. Everything looks great. I'm doing the same step on the front skirt and opening my buttonholes. Finally, to create gathers at the waist, sew a straight stitch along the entire waistline using a 5mm stitch length. Place the front and back skirt facing right side together and sew along the side seams. Then, press the seam allowance open from the center. Before attaching the facing to the skirt, fold the 1 cm seam allowance at the edge inward. Here is a practical method. Sew a straight stitch with a 4mm stitch length 1 cm far from the edge. Now you can easily fold this allowance inwards and press it along the entire perimeter before joining it with the skirt. Turn the upper and lower body inside out, placing them right side together. Gather the skirt wide to match the waist and pin in place. Best for easy sewing. Now it's time to join the tie tunnel. Secure and sew the front facing to front skirt and the back facing to back skirt from the inside. Ensure a smooth connection by steam pressing. For the final step, flip the dress inside out and pass the tie tunnel along the waistline and sew from the outside for a clean finish. Let's move on to the final part of the dress, which is sewing the ties. Joining the two long pieces together. I recommend using this method for a stronger stitch. After sewing, press the ties and prepare them for stitching by folding them as shown in the video. After ironing the finished tie, thread it through the tunnel using a safety pin. And now your dress is complete. I would love to see the unique Sofia dresses you create on TikTok or Instagram. Please don't forget to tag me or use the hashtag when you share, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Happy sewing! Bye!